more than this. Okay. Thank you very much to all the people who registered for this webinar, and especially for the attendees who are always great news for me, because I feel very, very comfortable when you are here and when you ask questions, and please feel free to do it, right? Hector, hello from Texas, University of Houston. Thanks. Welcome, Enda, and welcome, Joe. Okay. Welcome to today's webinar. Its topic is expressing your own voice in academic text. Please be aware that when I refer to voice in this context, I'm talking about the action of expressing arguments rather than the use of grammar focus. It's not forms. It's not a thing. It's not necessarily a method of grammar. It's a method of expressing ideas, of expressing arguments and defending them. Welcome, Patty. Okay, so as usual, let's begin with a related code. In this case, the selected code describes what your own voice means in a general way. However, it is also related to your academic writing, because what you express through your own academic voice is in fact what is in your mind, your vision, and story about the academic topic you discuss. And as such, you need to embrace that feeling of belonging, the feeling of letting other people know what you think. You need to approach it like a parent who has nurtured a child and want to show them off. This may sound odd, but it is a good way of facing the task of expressing your academic voice. Don't forget that your ideas are your creations. Okay? Today's agenda has these 6 points. We will go from the general concept of academic voice to self and expert voices. From there, we will talk about critical analysis as the main component of expressing your self's voice. Then, I will give you some hints that will help you make your self's voice explicit, and finally, other hints to integrate your own voice to expert's voice. At first sight, you may feel surprised that an academic paper should have 2 different sources of arguments, scholars and you. Perhaps you may think that you are too far from scholars in terms of knowledge and experience, that what you think should not be relevant. However, you are very wrong. Let's see why. These are the reasons why both voices should be present in an academic paper. First of all, there is no consensus about what exactly academic voice is. The definition goes from what makes your thoughts and words different from those of others to what makes your identity as academic people. You can't, no, the audio is not mute, not at all. It probably is your system. Okay, sorry. So, therefore, there is not one definition of something that is required in any academic paper. Despite that, we can have a clearer idea of it, because in academic writing, it is important not only to present ideas, facts, and conclusions, but also have a point of view or stance. When you are able to consistently communicate that in your writing, you are using your voice. When you present the point of view of other authors, you are using the expert voice. Let's stop here to read what Adrian says. Adrian says, so in academic writing, self voice is seen not so much through the use of person pronouns like I, my, and so on. Rather, self voice is seen through the research argument that we making critically and analyzing and evaluating the value inherent in others' research works. Yes, and I'm going to talk about how you can express your self-voice without using pronouns. Sussman says, does this also apply to literature review and a PhD thesis? Oh, it applies to all academic texts, especially for a PhD dissertation, because a PhD dissertation implies that you have to express explicitly what your thoughts and your positions are. Cassidy says, I had to click on the screen like the presentation to make it not mute at the beginning, but my computer prompted me to do so. Oh, I don't know why it happens, right? Paul, I have seen first person pronouns in paper, but I have told not to use them. We are going to talk about that. Okay, so if you focus on the ultimate goal of academic writing, which is to convince people of the validity and consistency of your arguments, you can realize why two sources of voices are necessary. Expert voice is needed because any study or discussion of arguments is based on previous works and research. Nearly no idea is completely original, and therefore you have to build your creations upon what others have done before. Such action lets you also provide evidence to support your thoughts and arguments. However, your own voice is needed to provide your paper enough originality to be considered significant. Your point of view enriches your work and transmits readers how well you have been able to interpret ideas, situations, and results. So you should not bury your self-voice in quote from other authors. You have to make clear what you think and why. So let's focus on self-voice, its nature, and how to find it. Welcome to Garima. Okay. Self-voice is basically the expression of what you think about a topic, how you compare your thoughts to other author thoughts, and what you conclude of the whole process. In other words, your supported point of view. Self-voice texts are the result of your critical analysis of what has been said about a topic so far and your process of building a conclusion taking that analysis into account. Your conclusion or your new argument shows reflection and interpretation and provides a new facet to the discussion, a new element which is more than the addition of the ideas analyzed, because it has a strong influence of the way you conceive the topic and interpret the options. Following the implicit rules that govern the academic environment Your self-voice must have authenticity and authority. Authenticity comes from adopting and using the rules or conventions of academic writing that I have presented in other webinars. And authority is defined as the capacity to convince others and have credibility. In other words, your writing must be authentic in the sense of being consistent with the practice in which you are engaging, and also provide enough strong evidence to support your arguments. Why is it important to express your own voice in an academic text? Because academic texts are created to convince people of the validity and consistency of an argument. Therefore, readers want to know what your own position about the discussed topic is and how well you developed and supported. Besides, they want to have a clear picture of your value as a scholar. Are you an independent and critical thinker, or only a kind of parrot that just repeat arguments without analysis? Those are the questions that readers are expected or expect to answer about you. So, self-voice tells a lot about who you are. Now, let's talk about the other voice that is needed in academic text, the expert one. When we talk about expert voice, we refer to what the people who have published works about a topic say, and the ideas and evidence they have provided and that we may use to support our arguments. Why is expert's voice important? Because it helps you first to provide evidence that supports or challenges your claims, and therefore lets you write strong arguments. Second, it helps you compare points of view in relation to an argument you discuss. Third place, illustrate a point of the discussion by providing an example. And finally, deepen your discussion. All these reasons lead you to perform evaluation of ideas and therefore critical analysis. You cannot write a solid and appropriate discussion without interpreting the ideas you read, evaluating its validity and consistency, acknowledging the sources, and establishing their appropriateness to your own point of view. Besides that, your self-voice is built upon these actions. When you do them, you get the input to construct your own point of view and consequently have the arguments that would express your self-voice. That's why you need expert voice. Now, the main tool to express your self-voice is critical analysis, because it lets you discuss your arguments in relation to the state of art and provide reasoning and evidence to support what you claim. Critical analysis is basically the explanation of the meaning of a work, idea, theory, point of view, etc. In academic contexts, critical analysis specifically refers to know what the ideas discussed in the source are and to evaluate their validity and usefulness for us and the field of study. So, critical analysis implies to focus on establishing the main ideas, elements, or points of view of a product or situation. and interpret them in terms of how valid and consistent they are when you link them to your specific context. And those two tasks must be performed if you want to do critical analysis. It's not only summarizing and interpreting ideas or points of view, it's also to link them to your own specific context. You have to act in two different levels. First, getting the gist of what you are dealing with, and second, going beyond to explain it and its relationships in a way that can convince not only you, but also other people that your view of it is true or logical. So, is it possible to have a clearer idea of what critical analysis is so as to understand why it is the main component of self voice? That's a question that you may have asking yourself right now. And my answer is absolutely. The best strategy to get that objective is to compare it to description, which is what many students confuse it with. And here you have this table. This table shows the main differences between description and critical analysis, the two concepts that many students confuse. Okay? Please pay attention to the verbs that state the actions required and how the ones associated to critical analysis imply a higher level of thinking. Check, for instance, the second row of difference and think about how different states what something is like is from evaluate strengths and weaknesses. It's not the same to state something to evaluate that. Evaluate in terms of strengths and weaknesses. It's not the same to state what happened to identify significance. Okay? And those are the two levels that you have to have very clear on your mind. You cannot develop a whole academic test only on description, only describing things, tell us a lot of facts. No, you have to do all the things. You have to identify significance. You have to evaluate strengths and weaknesses. You have to evaluate significance of details. You have to make reasoned judgment, argues the case, show why something is relevant or suitable or unrelevant, identify whether it is appropriate or useful and why timing is important. I mean, gives reason for selecting options. Adrian says, those bolded verbs reminding of the action verb from Bloom's taxonomy for high order thinking. You got it, my dear. Yes, they are. Why? Because they express a higher level of thinking in relation to describe. So many students think that they can just include lots of facts, lots of quotations or citations and that kind of things, and that's all. No. You have to use critical analysis and you have to express your self-voice through critical analysis. Prayat says, could you please give an example for clarity? I'm going to do it in a moment. Different between stating and evaluating something. Oh, you mean that? Okay. You can say, for instance, this experiment shows this, and this. That's a stating. But when you want to evaluate strengths and weaknesses, you have to say, from this, an analysis of these experiments shows that these factors are relevant and can be used in other contexts, but there are some elements that are not as strong as the ones mentioned. There are weaknesses in the way that everything happens, okay? Those are two different things. One is saying, okay, this is what I got, and the other one is saying, okay, what I got has this strength that can be used for this, but also have these weaknesses that need, that we need to explain and to get an explanation for that. Okay, is it clear? Okay, so I guess that right now you may be wondering, okay, that's interesting. I understand the main, the gist of it, but how can I express my own voice? That's my problem. Okay, we are going to see how you can do that. Before that, let's read Tahaja. So it is more like extracting information from observation. It is more like reflecting upon what you have found and connected it to your own situation, to the topic or the problem that you are dealing with. Adrian includes some explanation, which Prior considered perfect, which is stating fact is like the list of evidence in a criminal case file. Evaluation of the evidence is the basis for a criminal investigation report. Yes, that's the part. And I have to tell you something about it. Okay, so your self-voice needs to be expressed explicitly. Okay, explicitly. You cannot leave it to the reader's interpretation, because if you do that, you will face the risk that there are lots of misinterpretations. So, to express yourself voice clearly, it is necessary to provide your own point of view about elements like strength and weaknesses. What strength have you found in the idea, in the position, in the experiment, in the study? What weaknesses have you found? What's their significance? And what is their appropriateness in relation to theories, methods, etc. If you are talking about a specific set of theories, and then you include expert voices or research studies that are not connected to the theories that you are using, then you have to go back and ask yourself, did I choose the best theories to explain the situation I'm dealing with? Or should I make a deeper analysis of what I have found? So readers can see that you have a personal voice about what is being discussed, and at the same time that you support your position using the voices of a scholar in the field. Also, that you present evidence that does not support your view. And that's important. It's not only to present evidence for your point of view, but also against your point of view, and then show why you consider those positions are not useful or appropriate. You also need to show how confident or not you are about your position. You can show your confidence with words like certainly, definitely, etc. And your lack of confidence using verbs like may, might, or could. At the beginning of a research study, you need to use this kind of verbs. Why? Because if you are so sure of what you are going to find out, then why are you doing that study? So you have to open the possibility to find things different from what you have thought, right? Another way to express your confidence about relationships explicitly is using evaluative adjectives and adverbs that indicate that what you think of others' writers' view. For example, adjective like accurate, this is accurate, or adverbs like this is really the whole study is inaccurately because of this and this and this. A third way is to indicate how strong your own claim is. How? By means of precise verb usage, modality, and evaluative language forms. For example, you can write sentences like this. It appears that the researchers may have not taken into account some important data when they raised the possibility that, and you continue there. This establishes that you are not sure, that you think that what the researchers have done have strong weaknesses. And that kind of sentence expresses your own voice clearly. Okay, Dorca, don't worry, because you are going to receive the recording, okay? Go on. Okay, so in summary, rely on critical analysis to express your personal voice. Yeah, you say, okay, I know, but how do I actually find my own voice? Well, as with other significant skills, it requires courage and practice. You may say, courage? Yes, courage is necessary because you will inevitably experience failure when your papers are rejected or receive negative comments from reviewers. Something that should not make you stop trying. Okay. Welcome, Dredger. Don't worry, you will have also the recording and you can catch up with all the things. Okay, so I was saying that you need courage to fail, because it is also means courage to succeed. Okay? Those two things go together. You need to have courage to face failure in order to get up again and look for success. We all know that developing a skill requires practice, and finding your own voice is not an exception to that rule. In the slide, there are some suggestions to help you find your self's voice. Let's see each one of them. First of all, practice free write, which is to write any argument that comes to your mind and doing it unfiltered and uncensored without worrying about citations, notes, etc. Is what comes to your mind in relation to what you are working with, you write it down. okay? Then you write without stopping, no editing, no rearranging sentences, but using your own words. So first, write first, revise later, review later, and edit later. So, because if you stop yourself trying to make it perfect from the first very initial moment, you are going to lose the track of your thoughts. Okay, so it is very, very important that you just write, and then later on you do all the editing process. Then write every day, even if it is for a short period of time. Why? To form the habit of writing with your own voice. Every day you write something that expresses your own voice in relation to something, and not necessarily academically, right? Then read broadly, deeply, and critically. Read in depth within your academic field, but also read outside your field. Why? To get input, to then express your self-voice. The next one is that you need to critically assess other authors' writing styles and arguments. You have to ask questions like, why are they effective? Or why are they ineffective? How do they develop their arguments? Another thing that you have to do is to establish how you may use that learning in your own work, and then free write the ideas that emerge. So you read something, you analyze that, and you say, oh, this is very interesting. And then you write your self-voice about that idea, about that point. So without any thought about, is it good? It is not. It is bad. Can it be accepted? No, you write it as far following the flow of your ideas. And finally, you write clearly. After you have done all those things, you need to write clearly, because you need that people understand you. Write in a complex way does not mean writing more academically. Many students believe that if they can write an idea in a complex way, in a very circumvolent way, readers are not going to understand and say, wow, how intelligent this person is. No, my dear, it doesn't work like that, especially with your supervisors and committee. Okay, Priya says, Maria, please tell me this. When you say as a researcher, we must also look critically at our own arguments, how exactly can this be done best? Well, first of all, finding arguments that are against your point of view. Okay? You need to look for arguments for people who don't think like you do, and then analyze why they decided to, or why they think in that way, how they reached to that point of view. When you do that, in fact, you are analyzing critically your own arguments. And when you do that, you can find weaknesses that then you can work in order to transform them into strength. Okay, so you don't go to evaluation just of other people, for example, your supervisors of your committee, without analyzing your own point of view. You need to know how strong your argument is, how well your evidence support your point of view. If you find weaknesses, then you have time in order to make it better. If you don't analyze your point of view, you are blindfolded in order to go to the committee. Hector says, my research in MA deals with testimonials, and I want to include the voices of the people I've interviewed because to me, their experience is important. And I want to bring their voices to the forefront instead of narrating the social historical event. I'm having difficulties with this. Well, imagine how would you, as a reader, how would you like to know these people's points of view? How would you think that a reader can understand that what you are presented is the specific voice of a specific person? Okay, Erica suggests Hector that he watched the Bourget recordings on storytelling. I'm sure that, she's sure that that will help him. There are on the PhD education website. Okay, thank you very much for that suggestion. And Priya says, brilliant. Thanks a million for this explanation. I used to grapple with this situation. Well, I'm glad that you are not going to grapple anymore. Now that you have more information about sales voice and expert voice, you may wonder, now I have my voice, I have expert voice, and how do I integrate both voices in a functional unit? Let's have a look at it. These are the basic ways to integrate your own voice and the expert one. It is necessary that you always make clear what is your position and how you relate your view to the ones of other people. And that's something important for Hector too. You have to express clearly whose the voice is, okay? So the readers know when are you expressing your voice, when experts are expressing their voice, and when your subjects are expressing their voice, okay? Erin says that Hector, check out Narrative Analysis and Invitation to Qualitative Field Work by Orn and Bell. They talk about incorporating participant voices. This is also common in community engaged research, so you could look into that as well. Great. So Hector, all the peers are helping you. And that's why I love when people come to my webinars, because that enrich the whole discussion, okay? All right, so talking about these ways, even though you are not usually allowed to use the pronoun I and other pronouns, there are other ways of making clear who is the owner of a position. Like when you say the researcher, since you are the researcher, it's your voice. When you say the author, it depends on if you are talking about another work, the author of another work, or the author of the dissertation. When you say the subject, or subject A or subject B said this, you are stating who's the owner of that utterance. Okay. Another way is to write sentences that make clear that what is said is in fact a construction made by the author, you. You are the author. So you have to make it clear what your construction is. Some phrases like this: from these arguments, or from these ideas, or from these works, it is possible to infer that. And that introduces, that such a phrase introduces your own voice, because you are saying it is possible to infer. Okay? And that means that what is going on is a construction of you, is the way in which you interpret what you are reading or read. Sorry. Or a sentence like, consequently, the phenomenon or the problem or the method or the theory has been accepted or not accepted, has been evaluated positively or has been evaluated negatively, especially because of, and you begin to express the reasons why you are saying that. Okay? Okay, so look at this table. This table presents 3 different ways to include expert voice in your academic papers. You may wonder when you should use each of these actions. Okay, the table presented, lets you know that. Why? By rule, the number of direct quotations that you are expected to use should not be more than the 10% of your citations. Why? Because direct quotations hinder the flow of the text and do not reflect your understanding of the ideas. So you quote in these 4 situations. Okay? If you cannot find a way to do it better than the author, but check that, be careful with that, because you cannot say in more than 10% of your quotations, you cannot say, it's because this author said it in better than me. Because that means that you are not good enough to do that, to do a paraphrase. Oh, come on. Okay? So there you have 4 opportunities in which you say, okay, I'm going to use this direct quotation. So as the table shows, you use them in the case that the author exact words are absolutely necessary to transmit or emphasize the message intended by the source. Paraphrasing, on the other hand, is used to demonstrate your understanding of what you read and to perform critical analysis. And that's the main tool to include experts' voices, is your analysis and your construction in such a way that you show everybody that you understood what you have read and that you did critical analysis. So there you have 4 situations in which it is necessary to use paraphrasing. Oh, Herzen, no, you can have it. You just go to the handout tab, and you can download the whole presentation. And for the people who are going to receive the recording, you are also going to receive a comprised PDF of the whole presentation, so you will have this chart there. Okay? And summarizing is used when you want to present the main ideas of a sort, the author's point of view, and also compare different perspectives, including your own. Oh, I'm glad that you consider that this is an excellent presentation. My idea is always to help you understand what you need to perform at high level in academic writing, and to make it clear that you can learn it. I mean, it's not something mysterious. It's not something unreachable. No, it's something that you can learn and you can master, providing that you practice. All right. So in this slide, you can see an example of how a student does not provide their self voice in an academic text. The text on the left column is just what? A mixture of citations. And in fact, no claim is made. We don't know. We don't know what the self voice of the student is. On the right column, the text is improved by presenting claims that reflect the student analysis of the sources cited. So when it says one phenomenon that can impact greatly on the effectiveness of group is that, as and continues, it implies that that's the student's opinion. That's the student voice in that sense. Okay, Patty says, yes, I agree, very clear. And then Prayat says, if we are using a direct quotation, does it always necessarily have to be in cases where the code supports our argument? No, not at all. I told you that you need both material or ideas or points of view that support your argument and those that challenge your arguments. And believe it or not, arguments against your point of view are always more useful, either because they help you identify weaknesses in your reasoning, or because you can find such a strong explanations to prove that that position is not appropriate, or is not valid, or is not good enough, that enriches your discussion. So that makes your discussion more lively. Pipit says this is exactly what doctoral students need, as many as the thesis draft were criticized as being descriptive. Yeah, that's true. Because if you cannot express yourself voice through critical analysis, what are you doing? You are just acting like a parrot, saying what other people say or said before you. And what do you think? I mean, especially when you are doing a PhD dissertation, you are doing it to prove something, or to convince people of something. And your ultimate goal is also to be part of the scholar community. Can you be part of a scholar community just repeating what other people said without any analysis, without taking any stance? No. So you need your self voice to do that. Okay? And this is the main idea of today's webinar. You have to develop the skill of writing your self voice in your academic papers, because that is clear evidence that you have understood what you have read, and also that you have built your own point of view about what is discussed. Of course, it requires understanding and practice. I provided you a basic elements to understand what is behind self voice and expert voice, but the practice is on your side. Okay, and the benefits of mastering that skill are worth it. When you master this skill, you will realize how different you are, how you don't accept things face value. And when you participate in future discussions, you will say, okay, wait a minute, your position, I don't think is quite well developed because of this and this and this and this. That's self-voice, that's critical analysis, and that's what is expected from a scholar like you. So Deidre says that this is very helpful. Simon says, fantastic. Simon says, I thought our voice only came into play in the findings, recommendation. This is really interesting. No, really, not only there. It is a basic part of literature review. Why? Because you have to perform critical analysis in literature review in order to know what sources you can use to support your point of view, what sources challenge your point of view. And whatever decision you make in chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, I mean, in each chapter of your dissertation has to be supported. And how you support your decisions using critical analysis and establishing your self-voice. This is useful for my investigation because of this and this and this. That is critical analysis and your self-voice. I decided, for instance, in methodology, I decided to use this qualitative or quantitative or mixed method because of this and this and this. That's what you get when you perform critical analysis and when you express your own voice. Of course, the last chapter, the one of conclusions and recommendations, express your self-voice, but you cannot take those recommendations and those conclusions from a hat, from the air. You have to do it based on what you have discussed in the literature review, what you have found using the methodology you selected, and what you have presented in the findings. Without that connectivity, you are not doing a high quality work. Zaban says, Samus first. No, let me go. Juhan too says, this was a great session. Thank you for the great tips and insight. Use it. Use it. That's what I want you to do with all this. Semo says, I have been hiding behind other authors. I love to see more examples of self-voice. Yes, but to do that, you just have to read in a more confident way, in a more analytical way. Look, read what the authors that you have found and see how they express what they believed. That's their self-voice. And then ask yourself how I can do this with my own ideas, okay? Zainab says, the problem I have is that I do not feel so confident to paraphrase an expert voice. I feel I may lose the main points. Thank you for your brilliant presentation. Well, I created some time ago, I created a webinar about how to paraphrase. I'm going to write it down in my list of things that I'm going to do it again and reevaluate again and present it again. So, paraphrasing. There are many ways, there are many hints to paraphrase things, and I'm going to prepare a webinar about that, okay? Jody says, I learn a lot. Now I have to practice. Yes. And besides, or I say before practice, reflect. Okay? Read and say why it was done in this way, why it happens like this, why I should do this, how can I do this, and then you practice. Brian said, yes, a few examples of self voice, please, Maria. Well, I can tell you that in my opinion, self voice is a basic element of any academic text. Why? Because it lets us express what our points of view are in relation to other authors' points of view, and use it to make clear my own stance. What I have already said is an example of self voice. See? It's just, self voice is just to say what you think, what you really think after analyzing, interpreting, and creating. Bye-bye, Adrian. Take care, my dear. And remember us. Oh, by the way, for everybody, this is my last webinar in this 2020. I wish you all the best for next year. I wish you a lot of health, but also a lot of confidence in yourself and lots of work to adapt yourself to new environments, because next year could be even more difficult to us in relation to unexpected environments. So what we need is to prepare ourselves to change, and also to prepare our spirit and our skills to be successful. Adams is hand raised, okay, and I don't know. I respond to you in a moment, Sir Dams. Can't thank you enough, Dr. Maria, brilliant presentation. Thank you. All the best to you too. Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. Muchísimas gracias. You're a great example. Okay, thank you. By the way, there is a possibility that next year I am going to do some, not webinar, but some work with all of you on Tuesdays. Okay, so we will have to do. Yes, they will be webinars, but in a more simple way, with very focused topics. Okay, so search them. Veo que escribiste en español. Muchísimas gracias. David say, yes, this has been just wonderful. Thank you so very much for your encouragement and for sharing your wisdom. That a teacher's role is to share experience and what they have learned. Erica says, thank you, Maria. As always, a brilliant presentation. Have a joyous holiday and stay safe over the festive season, everyone. Tashia says, thank you very much for the webinar. It was very much helpful. Elise, wonderful presentation, full of great information. I feel empowered. Yes, use that power, Elise. Use it for going to your goal. Hector, thank you. Very helpful presentation and peer support. All the best to you all. Self-confidence is much needed on my side, and you can do it. Gracias. Tú puedes, Hector. Tú puedes. Confía en ti. Here's sorry, I take my head down. Okay, Heidi Cerdas. Okay. Don't worry. Sarah, thanks. Martin, thank you very much, Professor Maria. Jasmine, thank you. Thank you, Maria. Okay, my dear. be happy, be safe, and remember that each one of you is great. Each one of you is an example of how good mankind can be. Each one of you is a creation in progress, and any creation can be better, but not better for any people or not better for other people, better for you. Look inside you, not outside of you. Don't live in terms of how much I'm accepted. Live in terms of how much you accept yourself. Because when you accept yourself, then everybody is going to accept you. Okay? Nicola, thank you. This came at just the right time for me. Good. Good things in life comes on the right time. All the best to you, and thank you for invoking the good spirits. Yep. And Brian, hope to meet you in person sometime, Dr. Maria. Well, let's see. We can do it. Have a wonderful holiday. You too. And Semus, you should do a TED Talk. Well, that's a good idea, you see. That's a good idea. I'm going to think about that. Patty, thank you so much for your words of encouragement and inspiration. Yes, just reflect on that. Reflect on them because they are a product of my experience. And don't think that I got to that conclusions when I was very young. No, I have developed those conclusions throughout my whole life. I'm an old lady, and right now, right in 2020, I have experienced the greatest change, the greatest inner change in me. Okay, so you can do that. Okay, everybody, take care, have a nice time, and be as happy as you want. Bye-bye. Let me stop the recording. Oh my God, I forgot about that.